On this episode of China Uncensored, I am full of prejudice against China and arrogance. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. You know, when I went to public relations training for no U.S. government agency in particular, they taught me how to respond to tough questions from nosy reporters. You turn the tables, knock them off balance, beat them at their own game. And it seems China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has had similar training from the Chinese counterpart to the U.S. government agency in particular. Earlier this month, Wang and Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister held a peaceful joint press conference in Ottawa, when suddenly this Canadian so-called reporter, Amanda Connolly, tried to undermine China by asking a question about so-called human rights. And this was Wang's response.
I have to say that your question is full of prejudice against China and arrogance, and I don't know where that comes from.
Now, release the five-pointed question attack!
Have you been to China? Do you know that China has lifted more than 600 million people out of poverty? And do you know that China is now the second largest economy in the world, coming from a very low foundation? Do you think development is possible for China without protection of human rights? And did you know that China has written protection and promotion of human rights into our constitution?
Answered the question with more questions. And you know what? Wang's questions make a really good point. China has the second largest economy in the world, and nothing says human rights like the right to make money, as state-run media tells us every year.
The Chinese government released its annual white paper on human rights Monday morning, highlighting progress made in 2014.
The 14,000-word human rights reports look at improvements in people's livelihood, including higher incomes.
See, China has created its own, more favorable definition of human rights. Where have I seen this kind of thing before?
War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength.
I mean, sure, the so-called Freedom House organization gave China a freedom ranking of 16 out of 100, but they're full of prejudice against China and arrogance. And I doubt they've even been to China. And let me remind you, as Wang Yi did, that China has protection and promotion of human rights written into its constitution. For example, and these are real, China's constitution guarantees the right to vote, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly. Oh wait, what are those asterisks? I see. But look, if you didn't like Wang Yi's response to that reporter's question, don't blame him.
Blame Canada! Blame Canada!
That's right, blame Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Stéphane Dion, because the reporter had actually addressed her question to him.
Stéphane Dion just stood quietly by as this went on.
That's right, as you can see in this footage the reporter shot, Dion didn't interrupt and didn't call Wang out afterwards. And really, isn't that a problem too? Chinese authorities pull a bunch of jerk moves, and foreign governments stand by like some polite Mountie. If China is going to change the definition of human rights in order to make the world think it gives people freedom, then really, shouldn't we call them out on it? So if you were Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, what would you have said to Wang Yi? Leave your comments below. And if you like China Uncensored, join my 50-cent army on Patreon. For a contribution of just 50 cents per episode, you can help improve the human rights of this show. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time. Last Thursday, the Chinese regime decided it just didn't have enough on its hands with territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Why limit it to conflicts with Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Vietnam, and the Philippines when you can anger Japan too? This is Jordan Horowitz, the co-director and producer of Angel of Nanjing. It's a film about a guy who's dedicated the past 10 years of his life to preventing people from killing themselves on the Yangtze River Bridge in Nanjing. We have a clip of that movie, so let's check it out.
大姐怎么心情这么不好？